Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Alfan Fajar. My student ID is B10242010005 and I am from Management International class. Now I'm going to be explaining about my answers of my final exam for Mathematics for Economic and Business. So the first question is, it is known that there is a company that sells souvenir, and it is also known that the TR, or the total revenue of the company, is negative 35Q to the power of 2 plus 1050Q. And it is also known that the TC, or the total cost of the company, is 240Q plus 510. And the question is, how many miniatures should be sold to get maximum profit? So the formula to get the maximum profit is we have to subtract the total revenue with total cost, or TR minus TC. So we can add the numbers to the formula. It will be negative 35Q to the power of 2 plus 1050Q, and then we subtract it with 240Q plus 510. So it will be negative 35Q to the power of 2 plus 1050Q minus 240Q minus 501. And the result is called as pi. So pi equals negative 35Q to the power of 2 plus 810Q minus 510. And the next step is we have to make the derivative version of the pi. So the derivative of pi is negative 70Q plus 810. And then to find the Q, or the quantity of the goods that should be sold, we have to change the derivative of pi to 0. So it will be negative 70Q plus 810 equals 0. And then Q equals 81/7. And 81 divided by 7 is 11.5714, or the simpler version is 11.57. And the simpler version again is 12. So 12 is the quantity of miniature that should be sold to get the maximum profit. So after finding the quantity that should be sold to get the maximum profit, we can also find the maximum profit by adding the quantity that we just found to the TR formula, or the total revenue formula. So total revenue equals P, or the price, multiplied by Q, or the quantity. So we already know that the TR is negative 35 multiplied by 11.57, which is the quantity, to the power of 2 plus 1050 multiplied by 11.57 equals price that we're going to look for, multiplied by 11.57. So the price equals negative 35 multiplied by 11.57 to the power of 2 plus 1050 multiplied by 11.57 divided by 11.57. So we get the answer is 645.05. That is the price for each miniature. And after we already found the price for each item, we are going to add it to the maximum profit formula. It's TR minus TC. We already know that the TR is 645.05 multiplied by 11.57, which is 7,463.2285. And the total cost is 240 multiplied by 11.57 plus 510. So it will be 3,286.8. And then we subtract them, then we can get the result. The maximum profit is 4,176.4285. So that is the maximum profit. And the final answer is 11.57, or the simpler version is 12. So the next question is number 2. The question is, find the inverse matrix below. There are 9 numbers given. The first row includes 2, 1, 1. The second row is 3, 0, 5. And the third row is 1, 2, 4. So we are going to find the inverse matrix from those numbers. So the first step is we have to copy the first 2 columns to the right side of those 9 numbers. So we are going to have 2 new rows and 3 new columns. So there will be the first row will be 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, and the second row will be 3, 0, 5, 3, 0, and the third row will be 1, 2, 4, 1, 2. And then we are going to find the determinant of A. So the first step, we have to do a multiply from the first number in the first row, and then we are going to multiply it with the second number on the second row and with the third number on the third row. For example, like the first one that we find is 2 multiplied by 0 multiplied by 4, and then we are going to add it with the second number on the first row, third number on the second row, and the fourth number on the third row. So there will be 1 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 1, and then the next one is the same pattern, so we are going to have 1 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 2. So after we multiply each of those numbers, we are going to add them. So we are going to add the result of the multiplied from 2 multiplied by 0 multiplied by 4 and so on. And then after that, we are going to subtract it with the next formula. So we are going to subtract it with the third number on the first row, second number on the second row, and first number on the third row. So there will be 1 multiplied by 0 multiplied by 1, and then we are going to subtract it again with the fourth number on the first row, third number on the second row, and second number on the third row. So there will be 2 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 2, and then we are going to subtract it again with the same pattern, just like the last one that we used. So there will be 1 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 4, and then we are going to subtract all of those results, and then we get 0 plus 5 plus 6 minus 1 minus 20 and minus 12, and then the result is negative 21. So negative 21 is the determinant A. And then after we found the determinant A, which is negative 21, we're going to find the cofactor A. To find the cofactor A, there's a formula. It has the same pattern like the one that we just did. So there will be 3 rows and 3 columns of numbers. So there will be 9 numbers. The first row and the first column formula is M11, and the second column of the first row is M12, and in the first row the third column is M13. And then this means that, for example, like the first row and first column, M11, this means that we are going to remove the first row and the first column of the 9 numbers on the question. So if the numbers were 211 305 124, the numbers then will be 0524, because we just removed the first row and the first column. And the second example is like the second row, the first column is M21. This means that we have to remove the second row and the first column. So the numbers will be 1124 and so on, like that. So if the formula is M32, just like the one in the third row, second column, M32, this means that we have to remove the numbers on the third row and second column. So that will be 2135, like that. So after we remove the numbers by using the formula that we just did, for example, like the first row and the first column, we get 05 and 24. We're going to do a cross multiply. So the first one, we're going to multiply the top left and the bottom right number. So it will be 0 multiplied by 4, and then we're going to multiply the top right and the bottom left numbers. So we're also going to multiply 5 by 2. After that, we're going to subtract the result from the first multiply to the second one. So for example, like 0524. The first multiplication is 0 multiplied by 4, so the result is 0. And then the second one is 5 multiplied by 2, which is 10. And then 0 minus 10 is negative 10. So we can move the answer to the next one is negative 10. For other example, like on the third column, second row, M23. M23 is 2112. So the numbers on the on the third column, second row is 2112. So we're going to do the multiplication. Like 2 multiplied by 2 is 4, and 1 multiplied by 1 is 1. And then 4 minus 1 is 3. And then the next term of this formula is you have to do the positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive. So this means like the first row should be the result should be positive, and then negative, and then positive, and then the second row should be negative, positive, and negative, and the third row should be positive, negative, and positive. And after we did all the calculation, we get the result like this. I'm going to read it from the first row. First row is negative 10, negative 7, 6, and then the second row is negative 2, 7, negative 3, and then the third row is 5, negative 7, negative 3. That is what we call as cofactor A. After we found the cofactor A, we're going to find the adjoint A, which basically is cofactor A transpose. This means that we have to transpose the cofactor A that we just found before. How to transpose it? So we're going to change the row to the column. So for example, like if the row is A, B, C, and then the second row is D, E, F, so we're going to switch the row to column. So ABC would not be a row anymore, it would be in the column, so it will be A, B, C, D, E, F, like that. So because the cofactor A before we transpose it is, I will write it using the row. The first row is negative 10, negative 7, 6, and then second row is negative 2, 7, negative 3, and then the third row is 5, negative 7, and negative 3. So after we transpose it, it will be negative 10, negative 2, 5 in the first row, and then the second row is negative 7, 7, negative 7, and then the third row is 6, negative 3, and negative 3. Okay, now we're going to find the final answer, or the inverse. So to find the inverse, the formula is 1. We're going to divide 1 by determinant A multiplied by adjoint A, or the cofactor A transpose. So it will be 1 multiplied by, we all know that the determinant A is negative 21, and then we're going to multiply it with the adjoint A, which is negative 10, negative 2, 5 in the first row. The second row is negative 7, 7, negative 7, and then the third row is 6, negative 3, and negative 3. So we're going to multiply the 1 divided by negative 21 1 by 1 to the numbers on the adjoint A. For example, like the first one is negative 10, so the result will be 10 21st, and then the second number on the first row is 2 21st, and so on, the result of the multiplication. So we already get the result of the inverse. So it is 10 21st, 2 21st, minus 5 21st, 1/3 minus 1/3, 1/3, and then negative 2/7, 1/7, and 1/7. That's the result of the inverse matrix. And the third, or the last question, is explaining about the differences that subsidy and tax give and affecting the market price from the government, and also the example of the goods or the products that are affected by subsidy and tax. So both subsidy and tax affect the price in the market, but before we look for the differences between those two, we have to understand the definition of each first. The tax is basically increasing the price because tax is actually people's contribution to the country, so people pay money for the country. The government adds the price on the products for the sake of the country's treasury, so it's also for the country's money. So the impact of the tax is increasing the price. So for example, like if a fund's price before tax is 14 million rupiahs, and then after tax, which if the tax is 10% or 1,400,000 rupiahs, so the price after tax is increased to 15,400,000 rupiahs. And then the subsidy is the opposite of tax. Subsidy is a financial aid or support in economic system from the government to the people of that country. So since it's created to help the people in like not paying that much money to buy something, so the subsidy lower the price of the product. For example for the subsidy is LPG's price before subsidy is around 39,000 rupiahs, and with subsidy the price gets lower to 20,000 rupiahs. So the differences is at the way they affect the price. If the tax increasing the price, the subsidy lower the price.